Times Square this year? Man,
No idea.
I hadn't thought about that.
Oh, I guess we're live. Hey everybody, welcome to Make Me Like This. This is episode 20. I'm Brandon. With me, on this side is Jeff. This is our first time doing it live and doing it with video. This has, traditionally been a audio only format, and we're like in quarantine. What the heck? Let's use the technology. So, Jeff, how are you doing today?
I am decent. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing all right. I'm loving your background. I'm assuming that's a virtual background.
Oh
there.
yeah, Sanford and Son.
You used a still shot from a Sanford and Son episode. You can't compete with the classics there.
These are
a good thing.
Let's see. These are garbage trucks. My boys' costumes from Halloween.
Halloween this year?
Yeah, Halloween this year.
Did you do Halloween this year?
Halloween this year was a puppet show.
Oh.
So Julie, we got a Traeger grill, and the Traeger grill came in a big ass box. And so we took the big ass box. Well, we is the royal we. Julie took the big ass box, and she painted like this big landscape on it that had a bunch of like castles and homes and things like that. And then she cut holes in the doorways, and then we got a bunch of puppets. Hold on. Again, royal we.
Yeah.
Because Julie did all of this. I'm not this creative. But then
Oh.
yeah,
She made that?
Yeah, well, not these. We bought the puppets.
Yeah.
Again, Julie bought the puppets.
Okay. I was gonna say Disney gonna sue her ass.
Yeah, but all these different puppets, and then so the boys would say trick or treat, and out would come Goofy, and
nice.
he would have candy in his hand and put it in the box.
The character is giving them the candy.
The candy, yeah.
That's pretty thoughtful.
We just did that in our garage. Oliver was scared at first. Like he was like, "What's going on? All these little people sticking out."
Who is all behind there?
Oliver's too. So yeah.
Don't forget to check for razor blades.
Only eat the wrapped candies.
Awesome. Well, that's really thoughtful of you. We just bought candy and ate it all together. So that's
your kids are older though too.
They're older,
right?
yeah.
So, and that makes
They
sense.
are.
I would prefer to have. That's how I would do Halloween every year in my young adult life. Is that we would just get a bunch of candy and a bunch of beer and happy Halloween.
Yeah, I have to admit that I don't love going trick-or-treating with the kids. It's usually cold. It's almost always rainy. And, you do the dad thing and you kind of stand a little bit away from the door as they go up and ring the doorbell. And then you kind of just, with your hands in your pocket, you nod at the other parent and you kind of keep going. And I don't love that. So it was nice to not have to do that this year. There's so much that I hate about this entire year, but that was one of the things that I didn't hate. I didn't hate staying home for Thanksgiving either, to tell you the truth. We almost always split. We go to my side and then we go to my wife's side for dinner, and that's a lot, man. I got to watch an entire Lions Thanksgiving Day game for once. Not that that's a treat or anything, but it's a measure by which I can say I was able to be in one spot for the entire day. And when I say one spot, I don't just mean my house. I mean one spot on my couch. That was pretty nice. That was rad.
That is pretty nice. We smoked a turkey for the first time. Actually, it's our first full turkey that we've ever cooked as just our family.
Yeah.
Because my mom, in the school district that she teaches in, would always have the Wednesday before Thanksgiving off. And so we would go to my mom's on Wednesday. So Wednesday before Thanksgiving was always my mom's night. And we'd have a turkey there, have the traditional dinner. We'd come home and we'd be at our house before kids and with kids. We'd be at our house on Thanksgiving Day, but we'd always do something different. So like a ham or just something different, because then we would go to Julie's family and do another Thanksgiving dinner on the Friday or Saturday, just spend the whole weekend with them. So this year was nice. I gotta admit, I don't mind being around less people. I think that there's a bell curve of enjoyment. Don't get me wrong, I like seeing people that I haven't seen in a little bit, and especially spending time with family. I think it's reinvigorating. When we go to my in-laws' house, they live on a lake. It reminds me of being at my grandparents' house. They're super kind. They take care of our kids, which is really great when you got 2 boys, 4 and under. Griff's going to be 5 next week, though.
That's right.
So that's it's anyway. Like I love being with family, but there's a point where you get depreciating returns on being with family, and what I was thinking about on Thanksgiving is that there was no depreciating returns. Like I mean, I guess there probably was. Like I was around my people.
It wasn't for you, maybe for the other people in your house.
But I believe that there's only so many people in your life that you come across that you can tolerate for extended periods of time, living side by side, like sleeping under the same roof, being. Because there's an aspect of like I saw you physically face to face for every weekday for years.
Yeah,
and we get along fine, but if we shared the same room and had to brush our teeth in the same bathroom and had to fight over how cleanly our habits were, it might be a different relationship. And there's only been 2 people in my life that are not my kids, because I think kids are different because they have no choice for 18 years, and then you really figure out whether you can tolerate living with them or that they can tolerate living with you.
Yeah.
But there's only been 2 people in my life that don't bug the shit out of me after a period of time, and luckily one of them's my wife. So made a good choice
the other
with
one?
that. Good find. Spence was my freshman roommate. Not in the fall, in the winter term, the second term. No, the fall term. The guy hated me. His name was Brandon. Coincidentally.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Like, do you have a similar experience of that, or are you just totally? I'm more of a curmudgeon than you are. I'm probably a more difficult person to get along with. You seem to be more like just plugged into people. So I wonder if you feel the same. Like, can you stay with anyone, or are there a particular set of circumstances or a particular set of personality traits that makes it advantageous for you to kind of buddy up with people?
Yeah, I think in general, I'm really a people person at heart and thrive being in a group environment. But I think there are so many people who I know who roomed with their best friend in college, and it turned out to be a disaster. They had just like what you were saying. We're fine from 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. and maybe at track practice, but when you've got to share the same toilet bowl, things get real. When you share the same dishes, things get real. And so I didn't experience anything like that, but I will say that there was a point in college where the littlest things would bother me. And it was as simple as the way that they dunked their cookies in milk. And it was
really?
like, it was the weirdest thing, because I was like, I was talking to another friend of mine. I was like, dude, he's dunking his cookies in his milk in the cafeteria like a 5-year-old. And they were like, so it sounds delicious. I mean, and I was like, no, you don't understand. So it was like, I mean, it was probably just a lot of those little things of just idiosyncrasies of, growing up one way, and then other people, growing up with a different, set of rules and expectations and stuff. And even like when you first, move in with your partner, you grew up in different ways, and you have different ways of doing things, and different ways of setting the table, different ways of folding laundry. It's just, you just have to acclimate to that, and
Sure.
when you're 20 years old and you aren't equipped with the ways of articulating that in a decent way, then it comes out probably not the best. But I didn't have any real bad experiences, other than just normal stuff of like, oh, so you're still here, okay, cool. But I roomed with good friends throughout, so yeah, I don't have any complaints. I think it was a good experience, and I miss it sometimes. And I know you miss it too, because you have a trip that you usually take with that group of fellows, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even that group, like, I don't fully get along with all the time. Like, it's not like it was always those people aren't in my group of people that I can live with for extended periods of time. And I love all of those people.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's interesting, and my buddy Spence is just a person who I've just never been able to get annoyed at. I'd love to hear what he thinks about me, but
It could be completely opposite. You don't know.
I tell you the truth. Like, there are things that annoy me about you live with someone for long enough, and you notice their habits, and you psychoanalyze them, and all that stuff. So there's some stuff that is just like bugs me, but it just works with my wife. And to be honest, that I wouldn't undersell the value of that. I love her as a person, and Lord knows she makes stuff work with me. I gotta believe, but it's always been easy occupying the same space, and maybe that's because like I'm the one that's the difficult one, and she's just really good at managing it.
She's the easy breezy one.
But I got a question about that. Are we talking Oreos or the cookie?
No.
Or chocolate chip cookie?
Chocolate chip cafeteria cookies, like just the big ones and stuff.
That's garbage. Because like Oreos, I can see you have to dunk Oreos. Or Oreos, like you have to put them in, and then when you feel them slightly start to disintegrate away from your fingers, that's when you take them out, and then that's when they're perfect. Perfect saturation point for Oreos.
Well,
and
22
Oreos
years later,
dry is not good.
It doesn't make this same sense now as it did back then, but it was like, oh my god.
And what about the cafeteria as the setting? Like you said, cafeteria. Did that matter?
Well, it mattered because
this guy's doing this in public.
I probably thought that it made us look immature, and I was probably trying to be cool, and whatever.
You are the coolest, so I understand that.
I wore my Letterman's jacket in college. No, I didn't. I didn't even get a Letterman's jacket. You got one? I've seen yours, I think.
Have you seen mine?
I think I have.
I got mine out of the closet a little bit ago, and because I was cleaning out my closet, and I was playing Eminem while I was doing it. Good. And then I took it out and I had it on the bed, and Julie comes up and she's like, "How vain is this?" and she, like, because I pinned my medals from cross country and track over top of
Over the letter?
my letter. And she's like, "Did you guys do that?" I was like, "I think so. Yeah, that's what all of us did." And she's like, "That's so stupid. Like, why would you cover the letter like that?"
It's
and
just tacky looking.
And then she's like, "Are any of these first place?" And I was like, "No." She's like, "Oh." And she walked out.
She gave you a slow clap.
So then you know what I did as soon as she left. I got a hanger. I put that back in the closet.
Yeah. You're lucky she's still with you after that. That's embarrassing. So, if you've never tuned into this show before, the whole thing is about making someone like something that they wouldn't normally like. So, Jeff has got something that he's going to try to make me like, and I'm going to let him do it.
Well, let's take it from this direction. I thought about a couple entry points for this, and I just thought I'll go with a firm one. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you like Elf as the greatest holiday season themed film of all time.
Okay.
Themed movie of all time. And to sell it to you, I have a hard time doing it because I really like the movie. I've seen it a ton of times, and I gotta think it ranks up there as a good one. It has a solid lead with Will Ferrell, and it feels like it's a role that was meant for him to play. And it takes place during the Christmas season. It's got a strong holiday theme, and it ultimately comes back to family and togetherness and kindness and all the themes of the season, so to speak, that a good holiday movie should have. But I gotta say, like, this is really a gateway towards picking your brain a little bit to see if you even like holiday movies, if you've seen a lot of them. You're much more of a movie person than I am. And so I want this conversation to be, I want you to weigh in on Elf, and I want you to pick it apart and tell me about how you feel about it. But I also have a second layer of conversation that kind of gets us into talking about holiday-themed movies in general.
Yeah, sure.
So let's start off with how you feel about that film in particular.
I'll say that traditionally I have shied away from Christmas movies.
Okay.
I have to this day never seen Christmas Story.
Really?
I've seen bits and pieces of it. Like, I think it's been on like at my aunt's house, growing up, as we're over there for Christmas or whatever. And I've caught bits and pieces of it. I know enough of the imagery. I know enough of the story. I could probably tell you what happens start to finish. But I've never seen it all the way through. It was very weird to me at a time that I didn't appreciate, like, weird out there kinds of movies. I don't know. I think at the age I was, this was probably like early 80s, maybe early to mid 80s. And seeing him like climb up that slide, and then the Santa kicks him in the face and he falls down the slide or something like that. I was like, oh, this is scary. I don't like this. So it didn't seem very Christmassy on its head. And then I think the next film that probably gets a lot of attention is Christmas Vacation, which I did. I remember seeing in the theaters, and I actually did enjoy that. For what it's worth. But I think the hype surrounding it, where it's like, everyone reenacting it or quoting it or like treating it as if it was the ultimate Christmas movie. I don't know. I guess it's easy to say I'm a comedy snob, and for everyone to say like, oh, this, or maybe a comedy hipster. If everyone likes it, then I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I think I've since distanced myself from that a little bit as I've gotten older, but I think that there was a tendency to deny how great it was because everyone thought it was great. And so for me to say, oh, this is so great, then I'm just kind of going along with the crowd in a way, which for comedies that was sort of a no-no for me. I kind of liked being the comedy hipster and the person to turn someone on to something that they'd never heard of or they'd never seen before. So the fact that TBS and TNT would dedicate like days, throughout December to just playing these movies back to back and back to back, I was like, there's got to be something better, than watching the same movie. That's the other thing, is I have a difficulty watching the same movie over and over and over again. And even my most favorite movies, I don't tend to do that. With Elf, I've always been a huge Will Ferrell fan. So like out the gate, I was up for it, and I remember seeing it in the theaters, and I was like, oh, this is really great. And then it's sort of taken on this, I would say probably in the last 5 years or so, taken the place of Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation on cable as that go-to holiday movie.
Do they play it end on end?
Yeah, I believe AMC is giving it the same, or at least equal treatment to Christmas Story, to Christmas Vacation, any of the other ones. There's a lot of ones in between there that are corny. Santa Claus, not a big Tim Allen fan. Those to me, Christmas Story and Christmas Vacation, seem to stick out the most. But I will watch Elf because I think there's something so genuine about Will Ferrell's performance in that, where he's just so wide-eyed and innocent and believable in this particular role. I think it's a terrific film, and every year while we're putting up our tree and decorating it, the kids want us to put on Elf. So in that, it's become a tradition for us. I do appreciate it. Is it the greatest Christmas movie ever made? I would have a hard time finding one that I think is better than Elf in terms of a Christmas movie. Our friend Mr. Keaty has purchased for me twice on DVD I don't even remember the name of it, the Christmas movie with Jimmy Stewart, and he like sees his life. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't even know who Jimmy Stewart is.
Oh, Jimmy Stewart! He's the old black and white film actor.
Oh. You sound like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins right now to me.
Oh man, I guess all those guys from black and white movies kind of sound the same. But is it Miracle on 34th Street? Is it something like that?
I sent you.
I own 2 copies of it.
Yeah. So
I've never seen it.
So there's a couple things I want to explore here.
Okay.
Let's before I get to, I sent you a link, and I'm gonna access that later, but I want you to have it with you.
Okay.
But that link is a CBS article from a couple weeks ago that used Rotten Tomato rankings to rank all of the holiday-themed movies.
Okay.
And by holiday-themed, we're talking anything from Halloween into I don't think it's really, it's like after Halloween kind of stuff.
Okay.
But what I am curious about, something that you said, you kind of talked about the comedy hipster ness
Yes.
in you.
Yes.
And I guess associating that with, you kind of focused in on Christmas comedies in particular. So let's go there a little bit. With a Christmas comedy, are you more, less, or equally just neutral on this? Is there a hokiness about it being holiday themed and making it popular that would maybe you don't feel the same way now, but let's talk about 20s Brandon. What is it about, because there's popular comedies that I wonder, like, if a comedy is popular, like, let's just randomly grab Rush Hour.
Yeah.
Like, Rush Hour was a popular comedy.
Yeah.
Slightly on the corny side, maybe.
Yeah.
What would make you, like, do you value people's opinion? Like, do you value Rush Hour less or more? What if it had a holiday theme to it? I don't even know. Some of the Rush Hour, some of the sequels might have a holiday theme to it. I just don't know. But I really would like to hear your thoughts on, like, is it being a holiday movie? Is that a corny amplifier, or is it something different? Try to separate it from just the popularity of it.
It's a good question. Keep in mind that there's no rhyme or reason to it. There's inconsistent application of that. Yeah, and I think that there have been times in my life where when I was younger, my identity was wrapped up in comedy, SNL, things that I wanted to aspire to. And so if I, as a self-proclaimed comedy connoisseur, liked the same things that everybody liked, then I'm no different than Joe Camel, who goes to the theaters on Friday night and buys a ticket to Austin Powers. I loved Austin Powers.
Sure.
So I think there was a lot of immaturity to it. There was a lot of ego probably connected to it, of like, well, I'm the comedy guy of the group, and I want to be the one to inform which movies we go see. If we want to talk about dentistry, then we'll go to you, buddy. But comedy, that's my wheelhouse. So I don't want to sugarcoat it and think that there was anything really special about it. It was just that was my way of, I think, trying to be special. And is it the corniness of it? I think anytime that there is a importance placed on something, anytime that there is it's put on a pedestal beyond its art, the cultural aspect of it, everybody wants to see this, everybody's talking about it, everybody universally loves this, then I would probably have a hard time. I used to have a hard time trying to be part of that mainstream group, and it sounds completely posery and artificial, in hindsight. And I'm just being honest and saying that's probably what drove a lot of that. And even if you look at Hallmark movies, right? Past couple of years, the Hallmark Channel has made a big to-do about the entirety of November and December, all they do is play their cheesy romantic comedies. It's based around Christmas. There's a hard-working woman who doesn't have time for a relationship, and so she bumps into this bumpkin in the town that she has to go back to help her parents out with the farm or whatever, and they fall in love. And people are really like jazzed about Hallmark Christmas movies and stuff. And I think the kitschiness of it is sort of like entertaining now, in the same way that watching America's Funniest Home Videos, it's like, oh, we know this is dumb. We know someone's going to get kicked in the crotch, but I still like it. I still think it's funny. So I've come down off of my comedy and movie high horse as I've gotten older, and have learned to just let people like things, and not be so driven by like, oh, no, you have to check out this movie. It is so rare that you can only get it from a back alley DVD store that's like run like half DVD store and half sandwich shop.
They also sell bull semen.
They sell bull semen.
It's an aphrodisiac. So get this niche holiday movie and your bull semen,
yes,
and have a sexy weekend.
And it's the perfect stocking stuffer for anyone ages 18 and up, 16 and up if in the South. So I don't know if that answers your question at all, but I think it was just a pure predilection to not wanting to be so mainstream, even though I consumed so much mainstream stuff during that time, that I would like to have thought that I was like had a very informed palate for these kinds of things. So it's embarrassing, but that's I can't deny that that feels like it was part of why, So I don't have anything against holiday movies in general. I think I was probably just rebelling against the fact that it's like, oh, we have to watch Christmas movies because it's Christmas time. Well, I'm gonna watch Billy Madison 3 times in a row. I don't know.
Well, Billy Madison is one of the movies that I watched end on end for entire summers. So I mean, I would have no objection to watching Billy Madison. I think something just about my background with holiday movies, I haven't watched a terrible amount. I sent you this article because I was like, I like Elf, and I'm going to make Brandon like Elf. But as I got to thinking about it, I was like, if there's any holiday movies that Brandon likes, I would say that maybe Elf and Home Alone might be like in your top in your top 2. Or minimum, those 2 movies are in your top 5. I don't know where Home Alone ranks, but I like Home Alone. I would put it up there. And you and I have talked about it in the past. So I wanted to like be a little bit more. I got curious about like, what am I missing? Mm-hmm. And when I looked at this list, there is so many that I've never even heard of or would never even think to watch. And what's so crazy is it's Rotten Tomato. I don't know exactly how Rotten Tomatoes works, but like I gotta think that this is not just critic rating, right? This is like actual.
I think it's largely informed by just visitors of the website.
So this one right here, like, stop right there. Like, to have Christmas Vacation be 35 was a big surprise to me.
Yeah.
And I was actually noticing that a lot of the, let's call, I'm using contemporary, saying the 70s on for this, so I don't know if that's necessarily contemporary, but for this list, that's that's a good measure of it. Contemporary movies tended to not be as high up. You got more of the classics in there, and I can see like nostalgia plays a factor with people's enjoyment of things. But like to have the Santa Claus ranked higher than Christmas Vacation was just kind of crazy to me. But as you go up here, something you'll notice is like not a ton of comedies like on their face. Bad Santa's another one I forgot about. But there was Elf coming in at 21.
And Gremlins, which I never would have classified as a Christmas movie, although I guess in hindsight it is Christmas time. It's been a long time since I've seen that. Christmas.
I've seen Gremlins brought up less frequently than Die Hard as a controversial. See, this one, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I like that.
I do too.
It's more of a Thanksgiving thing, though, right?
That's what I would have said. To me, this is
which is a holiday movie, but
yeah.
But
this is one of the greatest comedies I think ever, personally.
I've only watched it at most twice. I think it's once. But I remember, and I can't tell you. I mean, besides John Candy and Steve Martin, the people that are in it, I can't tell you a lot about the plot and all that. I just, and I don't think that matters here a terrible amount. Just like when you're talking about the greatest themed movie, you talk about feeling, and when that's brought up, I think, you know what, like that's a pretty darn good movie, and if that's in the category, I feel good about putting that in my top 10 at least of movies I would watch around this time of year.
I think when they say holiday movies, my mind automatically goes to Christmas movies, and
that's a bias in this list, man.
Of course,
like and I intentionally looked for holiday movies. I didn't want Christmas lists because I wanted to see if there could be like a more broad, I don't see much representation of Hanukkah in a lot of these movies. I don't see. Right. There are, there's actually more commercialism Christmas than there is straight up Christian Christmas stuff.
Sure.
So there's that, and take it for what it's worth. But it is it is interesting looking at the balance. The more popular movies don't celebrate commercialism as much as the movies that are like closer to 50 the 50 range there.
Of course. This is the movie I was referencing earlier, It's a Wonderful Life.
A Wonderful Life.
I own 2 copies of it, and I've still never seen it.
I don't think that I've watched it. I mean, I know of it because everyone a lot of folks will say best Christmas movie ever, right?
Yeah. I think it's this character here wants to commit suicide, and so an angel walks him through what life is like without him, and every time something happens and a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. I think this is the movie on which many other sitcom adaptations have happened, where they've done that kind of that whole trope in a popular sitcom.
It's like the Secretariat of sitcom.
It's the Secretariat.
The Seattle slew of sitcoms.
Yeah. Ooh. So they got Die Hard on here. That's kind of a hotly debated topic. Is
how do you
Die
feel
Hard
about Die Hard as a movie in period, like just as a movie?
I liked it a lot. At the time. I don't think I've seen it.
Never seen it.
You've never seen it?
Never seen Die Hard.
It's a good movie. I'm not the biggest Bruce Willis fan, but I will say that I did enjoy this movie. Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. These are some of the classic.
A Nightmare Before Christmas is one of my favorites.
I've not seen that one. It looks creepy.
It's a cool movie. I mean, especially if you want like non-standard takes, and if you like Tim Burton kind of creepy stuff. But
yeah,
and I love The Grinch, but like that, though, all those ones that are tied for the, I think there's 5 that are at 100. None of them comedies, and all of them except for one of them. What was I think one of them was like in the 20 teens, and I had not heard of it. Carol, have you seen Carol?
Never even heard of it.
Kate Blanchett and Rooney Mara play women who become romantically involved during the Christmas season, set in 1950s Manhattan, and it was released in 2015. So like for that to get that kind of ranking, to me was like, I saw that and was like, I'm gonna watch that movie, because it's not gonna be this old as crap movie that I'm gonna be like man, the things have really changed in the way that they frame things and the acting and everything.
Well, it certainly makes me curious about it to wonder how something that came out 5 years ago, they would jump all the way up to tied for first of all time, right? So
ahead of A Wonderful Life, ahead of a lot of those like giants of the season.
Yeah. I don't know. It's not something I think the older I get, the more I just don't care about.
You don't care about whether it's good or not.
Hey, not. I care about if it's something that I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
But I no longer care to impress you by saying like, oh, have you seen this really obscure film? Oh, you gotta check it out, because it explores the delicate dance between the id and the ego, or whatever. I can't imagine I would have ever talked like that. But I think
I hope you did.
No, I feel like I'm trying, and really part of that is informed by looking at things through the lens of my kids. And it's like, you know what? If they like this stupid YouTube channel, it makes them laugh, it makes them smile, who gives a crap? I'm sure my parents were thinking that as I was watching Wayne's World. Like, what is this? So, let people enjoy things, let people be happy. That's where I've arrived lately. So,
I'm sure that I felt that way about like music or something, but it's like I've always liked mainstream stuff. So it's something I appreciate you talking about it. And actually I'm a little disappointed, because I was hoping like on this list you would be like, oh yeah, that really like when you were talking to me about Community, right? About like how it subverts like the genre, and you like really nerded out on how fantastic it is. It just kind of validates for me that holiday movies are pretty basic. Like, even if they're good movies, they're pretty basic. They're pretty straightforward. If it's a holiday comedy, it's going to have funny things that have to do with the tropes of the season, or if it is clever, it pulls on something that's very common that maybe isn't explored as much in film.
Yeah.
Like I think a big reason why Family Vacation is so revered is because it gives a window into how much of a pain in the ass being around that many relatives is, and being like the trapped feeling. And so like even in these comedies, and comedy's all about relatability, right? But they're limited because they are themed like that, and you don't have the freedom to play around with a bunch of, it's not a blank canvas, right? Your Community, as we talked about it, right? So I'm just bringing back to that, and you were kind of talking about how it like, it kind of takes it out of itself and starts to make fun of some of the tropes. So it like flips comedy on itself. I don't like. Could you do that with could you do that with Christmas tropes? Like that might actually be kind of interesting. Could you subvert something like that? But like I don't know if that exists. Or
I think
here's
exists.
a question: could you, do you know of any? And if you don't, like, what might be some ideas if you were a screenplay writer, Brandon, and you were gonna go at something? What might be some themes you would explore?
Oh boy. Well, I think some of what you're referring to, I think, happens in television shows. When you are doing a Christmas movie, you are kind of aiming for a broad audience, right? You want the whole family sitting around enjoying it together, so it's not going to be too deep, it's not going to be too different. It's sort of like we've spent so much time working, and now we're on a break, and we've done all of the shopping and wrapping of the gifts and cooking and stuff like that, and we're just going to chill out, and we're going to watch something together where it's not, we don't want it to be uncomfortable, we don't want it to be too, outlandish, whatever. And I think that if you have a Christmas film, you go into it thinking, this is for family. I can put this on and grandma can enjoy it as much as the little kids. So I think that there is some playing with the genre in television. You have the Christmas episode, which is able to weave that narrative into the arc that they've got going on the whole season and kind of mix it in there. I will say that there is a movie that just came out this month on Hulu, and I want to say it's called The Happiest Season, which is the first that I'm aware of romantic comedy Christmas movie about two women who fall in love. And so the actress from Twilight is dating a woman, and the woman wants to bring her home to meet her family for Christmas, but hasn't come out to them. So she brings her home as her friend or her roommate. I haven't seen it yet. I hope to see it sometime over the break. And it's getting rave reviews, and it's something that's playing with that genre, but totally different than everything that we've seen in that genre, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that the fact that so many people are watching it, I think it's one of the top 2 or 3 things viewed on I can't remember if it's Hulu or if it's Netflix. Maybe it's Netflix, because I think it's one of those things that was just in the top rankings on their site. It's one of the two, but
in particular, it being with LGBTQ representation and being a rom-com.
Yeah.
That sounds really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Is it for the same reason? I don't know if this Carol is a serious are Christmas dramas is that what they are if they're not? I'm really bad at categorizing movie types, Brandon.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's the same thing that drew me to this Carol, because as I was looking through this list, I felt like there's a serious lack of representation in these kind of movies.
Yeah.
That is kind of bothersome. As you scroll through, knowing that these are knowing the source of what's determining this. This isn't just a small group of critics. This is popular consensus. But it's also the industry just didn't. I don't know a lot about the history of all of this, and obviously these are popular movies. Yeah. I don't know what representation is in movies that aren't on this list, partly because I don't investigate it, but that was something that stuck out to me. Was and potentially problematic of my own habits, because I do have my handful of movies that I like putting on Home Alone during the holiday season because I feel like I feel the holiday energy. I really dig the premise of that movie. I like childhood like comedy stuff like that. It's it's a more polished and better executed version of Blank Check.
With a better young man as an actor.
But not to cut you off, but that is based in Chicago.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like I mean, maybe that's North Side. Just like I see a lot of white people in that movie. And looking back now, but like it's something in my childhood where I really took to that movie. I've never enjoyed The Christmas Story because I think it's similar to you. Mm-hmm. Christmas Story was played in every one of my classes in middle school and high school. The last couple days leading up to the break, and in every teacher would independently choose to play it. So I would watch different parts of the movie at every hour of a school day for 2 or 3 school days. And it just at a certain point you're just like, this is garbage. Like like give me some geography or something. Like,
Will you please give me a worksheet?
So, but again, that's a very white show. You look at all these 40s and 50s ones, like the older ones, they're gonna be white because
of course,
people of color weren't allowed onto the sets in front of the camera for those things. So
well, there is one on Netflix. It's produced by John Legend. It's called Jingle Jangle, and it is about a toy maker who finds new hope when his bright young granddaughter appears on his doorstep. An African American family. Forrest Whitaker's in it. Keegan Michael Key's in it. Ricky Martin's in it. And it is another film that is sort of gaining attention and acclaim for representation.
Janelle Monáe in there too.
Janelle Monáe, is she?
Or I just saw a silhouette. Maybe nope. I thought I saw her.
Yeah, she's probably seen it though. She's friends with.
She
with
has
John
watched
Legend.
it. I love Janelle Monáe.
I do too.
And Forrest Whitaker is dope. Low key,
He is.
like he's been a solid force for decades.
Yeah, he's all right. So check that out. Jingle Jangle, and The Happiest Season. I think it's called The Happiest Season. But it's familiar genre with a fresh look.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of cool.
I think that's what I'm looking for. Yeah. But do you like holiday, like non-comedy holiday movies at all, or is it just kind of like bleh?
I can't think of one. Can't think of one.
After we've talked about this, what might be like in your top 5?
I mean, I would say Elf is probably the best. It's the one that I don't mind watching over and over again because my kids love it so much, and they like Elf to them. What did Elf come out in, like 2002, something like that?
2003.
2003.
You were really good with those numbers.
Yes, I have a
even about
photographic
stuff
memory.
you don't care about, or like at one point in your life you thought was garbage. Like you just that encyclopedia in your mind of movies and TV is just crazy.
Yep, I can't remember general history, but I can remember what year She's All That came out.
What was that, like late 90s?
It was
96?
I believe it was 98. I think it was 98.
I go in like 5 year, like if I get within 5 years of it,
that's pretty good.
I mean, I'm throwing grenades.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah, that's true. You can
I don't
remember how
even
many
pick
goals
yours.
Dino Cicerelli had in 1995, I'm sure, but
Dino Cicerelli in 1995. I don't know how many goals he had. I know that was one of his last seasons with the Wings, though, right?
I just drew a name out of my hat.
Yeah. He had quite. He did have. He was prolific with the Wings in those early '90s teams, but
Yeah.
they really shook them up and before, like all those like him, Ray Shepard, Paul Coffey, like they had a lot of like really high end talent that ended up not winning cups with them, which is crazy.
Right.
Anyway, it's not about this cast isn't about that. Get that out of here.
So Elf is certainly up there. I would probably put Home Alone closely behind it. That's one that my sister, like the same way that my kids want to put on Elf while we're decorating the tree, my sisters would always want to put on Home Alone. And they wore out our VHS tape of Home Alone and had to get a new one because of it.
Fuller pees
So-
the bed, man. He's the worst. I think about that sometimes when my kids are peeing their pants and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
You're the
"Oh,
worst."
Fuller, you're the worst.
I think Christmas Vacation probably is timely enough to put in there and funny enough. If I look at it objectively as a film on its own, I think it's worthy of being in there. So I'd probably say Elf 1, Home Alone 2, and Christmas Vacation 3.
That's a good list.
Yeah, I can handle that. I'm also in favor of just putting things on and having them in the background as we do something else, or as we're like kind of like scrolling on our phones, or cleaning up.
Yeah.
Whereas before I couldn't do that. I would have to like sit and watch something, while it was on. So I'm getting old, man. I'm getting older and maybe wiser. Hopefully wiser.
I kind of feel like it's a good thing to hear you talking about that now. That like when you were, so I'm 35. Were you more chill and relaxed at 35, or were you kind of rather persnickety about stuff still?
I think when I turned 30, my son was born when I was 29, and so like becoming a parent, you got to care about things so much less. Like I used to get so riled up about Michigan State football games and basketball games and the Pistons and stuff, and like have to leave the room during a critical free throw because I was so like nervous and amped up and stuff. And when you've got a baby in your arm, like you've just spent an hour trying to get it to sleep, and then something happens on TV in the game and you can't like jump up and yell, because you're going to drop your baby. That quickly, ramps down your enthusiasm for all of those kinds of, or really you kind of see those things as insignificant, right? It's like,
right.
I've got this beautiful baby here, and I'm going to be mad that Ben Wallace missed a free throw. He misses all the free throws, So I think becoming a parent really helped inform that, and really that's when you start watching the stuff that your kids like. And I will say Cars, the movie Cars with Lightning McQueen, isn't the best movie ever made. It's probably if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's probably the lowest on the list for all of the Pixar films. But
Is it?
Yeah,
Because I like it too.
It's enjoyable, but what's more enjoyable to me is the fact that when my son was 3 years old, we watched it every single day, and he had the little cars and he would play with them, and it brought him so much joy. How could I not love Cars?
Right.
So there's different things, and maybe it's just the place you're in your life when you watch these movies, it hits you different. It hits you different now. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles now as a father versus when you were 10 years old. Probably going to hit you different. The guy trying to get home to his family to spend Thanksgiving with them after being on the road for a while.
I randomly get emotional about shit so much more now.
Yeah, same.
About like I'll see a sock hat that do people actually use it? Okay, I don't want to drag this on too much. My mom called beanies and like the knit caps sock
with the ball on
sock
top?
hats. Yeah. Does anyone call them sock hats, or am I the only weirdo like calling them sock hats?
I've never heard of that. I've never heard
Oh my
that.
gosh. I'm broken. But like I'll see something that they wore like all of a sudden they stop wearing stuff, and then you see something and they haven't worn it for over a year, like shoes, or anything like that, and I get weepy, and I also don't want to get rid of it, and I just like everything is emotionally charged, and it's like the best and the worst all at once. But
yeah,
I that's cool to know that your oldest you were a similar age to when my oldest was born.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, it probably doesn't
Almost
matter
exactly.
at all, but it's kind of it's helpful for me to kind of track these things of like, I know like when you talk about your kids being a certain age, that you were also the age that I was when my kids were that age.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, anyway, this was the easiest win ever because I picked something that you
I
already
liked.
and then I convinced you to like it.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely, at 2056 to 4, Jeff is in the lead, and I'm
Probably.
happy. I'm happy about running the score up here, but
Yeah.
I'm really happy about like just being able to expand that conversation and kind of look at a genre that, like, honestly, I don't think both of us it's something that's our favorite, but like right now for some reason I've just been kind of drawn to like trying to watch more of these things and trying to understand, if there's more of a narrative out there than just the 3 or 4 movies that I happen to watch every year. So, thank you for that. I appreciate
of
the
course.
opportunity. To talk about
And
it.
what's interesting is I think this year more than any other year I've been craving decorating the tree and having some sense of normalcy, because we know we're not going to be able to go to see cousins and grandparents and stuff like we usually do, and that's kind of where we get our holiday joy from, stuff like that. So trying to supplement that as much as we can around the house and putting on, like, I've never been one to like just put on Christmas music, but I found myself putting on Christmas music to try to provide that for the kids, provide that for my wife, maybe even for me a little bit. But I've never done that before.
Are you guys buying more gifts than you normally do?
Yeah, I think to compensate for what a bum deal they got for their birthdays this year, and just in general, try to buy their happiness.
Put the gas money into it. It's all the. That's what I tell myself all the time. It's like, man, I've been really hitting the Visa card hard this month. I need to back off a little bit. It all comes out in the wash with the gas money you're saving. I've
saved at least $1,000 in Qdoba alone since March.
Holy cow! It is so much easier to lose weight and eat healthy when you're not. I don't want to go back to eating the way that I used to, because now that I have a fridge and I grocery shop, and you have to be intentional about grocery shopping and planning everything, it is so much easier to go upstairs and prepare yourself a decent lunch, to make time for a decent breakfast. throughout the course of the day. If anything that I want to carry forward, it's like making time to eat and never doing like a rush, like skip meal or something like that I used to do on a regular basis.
Oh, big time. Yeah.
So
Agreed.
yeah.
Agreed. Well, Jeff, you said you wanted me to agree that Elf is the greatest holiday movie of all time. I've got to say I like that notion because I can't think of one that I would put higher than that. So
Next
big
week
win.
I'm gonna make you like water to drink, and air
All right.
to breathe.
Sure. We'll go with water in 2020. All right. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.